Okay, I apologize for that. This lecture is recorded, and I'm just going to do a backtrack, kind of a review, because I started talking without recording. So, my name is Mr. Madrano. I'm the instructor for Chicano Studies 21. If you're looking to take this class with Juan Guzman, unfortunately, he was unable to take it, but they found a suitable replacement, and that being me. So it gives me great pleasure to teach this course, and I welcome you all. So Zoom lectures kind of go like this. It's a voluntary Zoom lecture. You're not required to attend, but it will help immensely to become engaged with the literature, with the fiction, the stories, the essays, the poetry, whatever genre we're working in, to just get feedback and interaction in regards to that. Also, we'll maybe we'll engage in this wholehearted discussion and writing responses in response to what we've read. So and we'll also get a jump start on homework assignments, and I'll also bring in extra tidbits, extra some extras. Like I may invite friends of mine to come in and sit in on a lecture and maybe add their 2 cents. Maybe I'll assign their work to you all, and you'll get a firsthand um, knowledge of firsthand experience interacting with an author, which is always cool. Today we're gonna get started by doing a short, brief writing assignment. Um, and first things first, we go Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. These lectures are recorded. If you cannot attend the Zoom lectures live, you are required to watch the videos, the recorded videos. If you do not, if you attend the lectures, you do not have to watch them. The videos, lectures, the recorded lectures. But if you miss something, you can always go back and watch it. That's what they're there for. So, there may be assignments attached to the Zoom lectures, or I may reference something uh, in an assignment, and you may have to go back and watch the lecture in order to help you facilitate continue to facilitate that homework requirement. You may need to go back and watch the lecture. So just as a heads up. Okay, so today we're going to start off with a brief writing assignment, kind of an icebreaker, getting to know you type of thing. Um, and then we'll dive into the syllabus, and then we'll review the coursework for week 1 and what to expect for Thursday. Okay, so that being said, what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go into the chat. I'm going to pause the video, and then I'm going to write down the prompt in chat. And then what we'll do is I'll resume the video, then I'll talk about the prompt. Okay, so sound good? Okay, so I'm going to pause the video. Okay, so I have the prompt here, and the prompt says, what do you think is the purpose of Chicano literature? Name 3 Chicano authors that immediately comes to mind. What propelled you to take this class? Give you a couple minutes to respond to that. If you don't know, wing it or just say I don't know. That's okay. Sometimes this may be genre may be entirely new to you, and that's okay. But we should all have a reasoning why we would take this class, right? So any questions on the prompt? Any questions on the prompt? Okay, you can write on a separate piece of paper. You're not turning this in, but I do expect you to participate and write to this. If you're watching the video at home, the recorded lecture, think about these questions and maybe write your own personal journal, personal statement on this, okay? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to respond to this, and I'll also respond. I'll also write my own. So I'll give you a couple minutes. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Um, what we're gonna do right now is just kind of share what we wrote. Um, we could just uh, we'll take it one question at a time. Okay, we'll take it one question at a time. So um, the purpose of Chicano literature, um, number one. So what? Any takers on that? What is the purpose of Chicano? What do you think the purpose is of Chicano literature? There's no right or wrong answers. Um, there's only um, question. I mean, there'd be a question or whatever, but uh, there's no right or wrong answer. So anything really kind of goes. Just kind of want to hear what you think the purpose of Chicano literature is. Maybe we'll start with. Maybe I'll just call out on some of you. Pete, what do you think the purpose of Chicano literature is?
You can hear me, or
Yes, I
okay.
can hear you. Yeah, we can hear you.
Um, I think, in my opinion, I think the purpose is just to kind of expose the culture and the learnings and the studies of Chicano Latinos. Um, I mean, I hate to say it, but I think it's very unappreciated and overlooked nowadays, and it saddens me because kind of my culture and my background. So I think that's the purpose.
Mhm. Okay. Okay. So, the idea of exploring cultural relevancy and telling stories that don't really get the get to be heard in the mainstream. So I mean, that's a great take on it. That's a great take. Let's see, Maricela, maybe you can answer that. What do you think the purpose of Chicano literature is? Okay, what happened with Maricela? Patricia, what do you think the purpose is?
I think it's like how Pete said, like to highlight the Chicanos and Chicanas. I think it's very important to learn from them, as like we didn't learn much of Chicano literature while growing up in like high school or in like elementary.
Mhm,
Only until we get to college we get that decision to take a class where we learn Chicano literature.
mhm. Okay, so you didn't hear much about it in high school, not much exposure. That's um, um, eh, yeah, yeah. I mean that's very real. That's very real. I think that's in um, there used to be Chicano studies classes in the high school. And I don't know how far they went into Chicano literature, but they're not doing that anymore, I don't think. Um, but is it needed? That's a question. Is it needed? We Fresno has a 50%, at least 50% people of Mexican Latino descent. So we're a large piece of the pie, right? So um, thank you for your wonderful answer, Patricia. Thank you, Morgan.
I completely agree with what's been said. I think that in most like literature courses, even in college, they focus primarily on like white European or American authors. And even if we do see some, like I've read like from Gary Soto and Sandra Cisneros,
Mhm,
but I feel like again, like they're not explored. Like we don't get to know who they are as authors, and their history and what they've had to overcome. So I think this course would like deepen our knowledge on those matters.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Again, that seems to be like an echoing theme here, the non-representation, right? The non-representation. We're going to go ahead and move on to question number two. So question number two is name, what three authors first that come to mind immediately when you think of Chicano literature. So, uh, Crystal, are you with us, Crystal? Hello, Crystal.
Yes.
Yes.
The two that can remember, just the top of my head, are Gary Soto and Victor Villaseñor.
Oh, okay. Victor Villaseñor. Okay, okay. It's a name that doesn't come up very often. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Have you read any of their works?
I remember reading Gary Soto like back in elementary school and middle school, not really much in high school. And Victor Villaseñor, I actually read his book because a friend gave it to me. So that's really the only reason why I found that one.
Oh, okay. I have a really wonderful Victor Villaseñor story. So I will tell that story at some point during today's session. So maybe after we go through this round of our of our icebreakers. So that'd be great. So yeah, those are yeah two interesting names there, Gary Soto and Victor Villaseñor. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Crystal. Let's see. We got Alvarez Ramirez. I don't see a first name. I just see the last name. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, okay, okay. Alvarez Ramirez, is that what you go by, or do you have a first name, or
Adrian?
Adrian? Okay, okay.
Yeah.
If you want to go by Adrian, or if you want to choose to go by Alvarez Ramirez, that's fine. But there's also a way to change your name to Adrian. So you
Okay.
want to think about that. So Adrian, what three authors come to mind when you think about Chicano literature?
Uh, to be honest, I wasn't really exposed to like Chicano literature, so I really don't know any authors.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
But yeah, this is like my first time taking this class, and
Yeah.
like I really want to know a bit more
Great,
about it.
fantastic. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's it.
I didn't mean to cut you off. Yeah, exactly. I think you echo what was being said earlier, uh, that there isn't a representation. And sometimes what that means is when there's not a representation um, in the schools or in the libraries. And what I mean by representation, I mean mainstream representation, where in popular culture, like you would throw names out and people were like, yeah, I know who they are, right? Like um, Stephen King, right? Everybody knows who Stephen King is, right? Everyone knows who J.K. Rowling is, right? Not everyone knows who Victor Villaseñor is. You know, like most people, the vast majority of Americans would never know who Victor Villaseñor is. So, so Adrian, when you say like, I don't know, I don't have, that's okay. That's perfectly all right. This course is meant as an introduction to Chicano literature. So by the end of this course, you will know who certain authors are, and you'll have a favorite author. You know, you have something to start with, right? Thank you for sharing, Adrian. Let's see, we'll move on to Genesis. Same question. Three authors that come to mind.
I'm not sure if you can hear me because the connection is pretty bad where I'm at, but
Okay, I can hear
don't
you though.
have any. Oh, okay. I don't have any authors that come to mind because I've never really been exposed to Latino or Chicana authors.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Could I ask you the question? What do you think the purpose of Chicano literature is? What do you think the purpose is?
To have like a better understanding of like the roots and history of how like Chicanos and Latinos have like added their own contributions to
Mhm.
arts and literature and how
Okay.
like they change perspectives.
Yeah, yeah. Wow. Wow. Great answer there. What was the third question? So let's see, I don't know if Maricela's with us. Maricela, are you with us? She's next in line. Are you
Yeah,
with
I'm here.
us? So Maricela, can you name three Chicano or Chicana authors that come to mind?
Just like a few other students also as well, I really don't know any Chicano authors
Hmm.
because I wasn't exposed to them either.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's certainly expected. You know, this is a genre that doesn't get explored very much. So obviously, the cause and effect of that is it's entirely new. It's entirely new. I mean, I think the vast majority of people in the United States and around the world never heard, can't name a Chicano author. And that's a fact. That's a truth. And I mean, um, that's why we have Chicano literature to create that stage. Okay, so we're gonna take it from the top, and the third one, we're gonna hear from everyone. So I want to hear from everyone. So we'll start with uh, who I have next in line. I have Morgan. So Morgan, um, why why are you, have you thought about why you are taking this class?
Originally, when I did sign up for the course, I was, I guess, majoring in Chicano Latino studies. I just recently changed my major, but also because I am very interested in learning more about the culture and then my own heritage. So,
And the culture and your heritage?
yes,
Okay, okay.
I'm mixed. So I do identify as Chicana.
Yeah. Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, I am too. I am too. My mom is she's mixed. I think she's part Mexican, Spaniard, and Irish. So I've got all of that within me. And if you saw my mom, you would think, wow, she looks like a European, an Italian, a Spaniard. She doesn't look Mexican, but she identifies as Mexican. My dad's Mexican, so yeah, we all come from different backgrounds. It's a real melting pot. Being a Latino, being a Chicano or Chicana is a melting pot experience. So that's who we are. And so and you're probably not the only one. You and I are probably not the only one who is mixed blood in this class. In fact, we all are in a way because of if you're a Mexican, you're part Spanish and part Indian. That's what the lineage is. Okay, so I'm sorry. Morgan, did you answer the question? I started rambling.
Yeah, I think I did.
Okay, okay, okay. Crystal, why did you take this class? Why are you taking this class?
I think, like everyone else, just to kind of expand my knowledge and understanding of Chicano culture
Mhm.
and get to know my roots and things like that.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. Adrian, how about you?
I just the reason I took it because I was signing up for my classes and my counselor brought up this class and it just like got me very interested right away and I
Okay.
just want to know more about it.
Okay, cool, cool. That's another way of coming into the class by what they call happenstance. That means, does anyone know what happenstance means? No, it means accidentally. Accidentally. It's kind of a it just it comes about out of the blue, and then, it sparks an interest, and you're like, okay, I think I'll take that class. Happenstance. It's a word that doesn't get used very often. um, all right. Let's see. Crystal, why did you take this class?
I think you just asked me.
Oh, did I just ask you? I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of going in order here. I don't know what happened. Genesis.
Um, I I think what you had said happenstance. I had taken a
Happenstance.
Chicano, yes, I had taken a Chicano Latinos class, I think about a year ago, I believe, and I
Mm.
enjoyed it. I really liked it, and so I needed to take another class to be able to transfer, and I was like, I'm gonna take it again because I really liked it.
Oh, okay. So you found this class by way of Chicano studies, right? So
Mhm.
okay. Who was your teacher? If you remember who your teacher was for Chicano studies?
I think it was Guzman.
Guzman. Okay, okay. Guzman. Um, I think she was I think I had her as a teacher. I'll tell you a little bit about me, more about me. because I'm going to answer these questions too. So, so I'll talk about all that stuff when I answer the questions. Well, cool, cool, very cool, Genesis. Thank you, Patricia. How about you? How did you come into this class? How did you find yourself here?
Well, I had a friend that took a Chicano literature class, and I was asking her how was it because I found it to be interesting.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, I was just when registering for classes, I'm like, I needed a class, so I took this one because I was interested, and also because uh, I just wanted to, like the other said, I wanted to go more in depth in
Mhm.
my roots. So yeah.
Okay, cool, very cool. Do you remember the teacher that your friend took? Did your friend tell you who?
No, I don't remember. It was back in 2019, so
Oh, okay, okay. Thank you.
yeah.
Alrighty. Pete.
I'm taking this class because I only had 2 classes this semester,
Mhm.
and I saw Chicano Latino studies, and I was like, I mean, really want to take it. Like Patricia said, more interested about my roots. Uh, I have many ethnicities in my
Okay.
from my mother's side of the family and from my
Mm.
father. My mom has she's from Mexico, or she was from Mexico. So I have Mexican, Spanish, Native American,
Mm.
and a bit Scandinavian. I just found
Oh,
out,
okay.
and
Huh.
from my dad's side,
Yeah.
Mexican as well, and I'm part Japanese.
Really? Oh,
Yeah, so
wow.
it's a lot to take in, but
Yeah.
uh, I'm been more in touch of Chicano Latino studies and things like that. So,
Yeah.
and while my brother's you know he's more in touch with his Japanese side.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, so that's why I'm interested in taking this class.
That's very interesting. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, the net in the Japanese culture is very prevalent in South America. In fact, I believe Brazil had a Japanese governor or president at one point. Um, and in Mexico, um, the Chinese is very prevalent in China in Mexico, especially in the border cities like Tijuana and Mexicali. So, uh, yeah, yeah, you know what? There's a great article about the Chinese restaurants in Mexicali. I'm gonna look that up and share that with you guys because I think it's a great little history there. So, yeah, I used to live in San Diego, and um, I, I used to take the trolley. It was kind of like the light rail, and I used to work down in Imperial Beach, so I would take the train from San Diego to Imperial Beach, and I remember there was this lady on there on the train. She was Chinese, straight up Chinese, speaking fluent Spanish. It's amazing. All right, Maria. Last but not least, Maria. Why did you take this class? Why did you sign up for Chicano Literature 21? Is Maria with us? Okay, so I guess we lost. Maybe Maria had to cut out for a sec. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my responses before we get into the syllabus. Um, we'll probably take a short little, maybe 5-minute break before we go into syllabus. But okay, so the purpose of Chicano literature, at least according to me, I believe, is to tell stories. And stories can come in different forms. Stories can come in the form um, of film, of literature, short stories, essays, personal essays. Chicano literature can come in the form of poetry, uh, playwriting, writing plays, even radio and music. That those are all stories. Any uh, platform where you can tell a story, art can tie into Chicano literature. And the Chicano is I think that's a term that gets debated. Now we have like what is it, Chicanx? Is that how you say it, or Chinkangs? I'm not, I think it's Chicanx. I think that's how it's pronounced. But that's kind of like the new term, and um, I have issues. I can have issues with that term, and one of the issues I have with that term is that it was created in the university, so it's not created by. I mean, it doesn't. You can't necessarily connect it to the ancestors. So Chicano and Chicana is a derivative of Mexicano, Mexicana, which is a derivative of Mexica, which are the Aztecs. So you see that? So you could trace the history there. Latinx or Chicanx, you can't really trace that history because it kind of was kind of artificial. I'll get some hate for that, I know, but I'm prepared I'm prepared to for that. But at the same time, I'm willing to agree to disagree. So if you choose to identify yourself as Chicanx, I'm not going to hate on you if you are. You know, I'll respect you, and you know, I'm not going to create any waves. So that's not my intention. So, okay. So at the end of the day, was the purpose is to tell stories. Number two, the three authors that immediately came to mind for me was Juan Felipe Herrera. Anyone heard of him? Juan Felipe Herrera. No, Pete says no. Juan Felipe Herrera he was a mentor of mine back at Fresno State. He was a professor at Fresno State. And I got to work with him for a long time, probably for about 10, 15 years. I got to work with him in different capacities. He's a poet, he's a storyteller, a musician. And so I took his theater class at Fresno State. And then from that point on, just took part in many of his ventures. He became the National Poet Laureate of the United States, which means that he traveled across the country representing the Library of Congress to promote Hispanic literature, Chicano, Chicana, Mexicano literature in the United States. So Juan Felipe Herrera. Luis Omar Salinas, anyone heard of him? Probably not. Right? He was from Sanger, California. He's a poet that was an amazing force, very lyrical poet. He had a battle. He had a battle of demons. He took medication for depression, for anxiety, and those issues are prevalent in his poetry. I would love to share his poetry because his poetry was amazing. But you could see when we talk about Luis Omar Salinas, you'll see like, wow, this guy was like writing about some dark stuff. You know? And then you have Andres Montoya. Anyone heard of Andres Montoya? So Andres Montoya was a poet who Pete. Have you heard of him or no?
No, I have not heard of him. He sounds familiar, but I think I might have the wrong person.
Okay, so Andres Montoya was a poet from born in Fowler. His father is Malaquias Montoya, who is a famous, not famous, but he's a fixture at UC Davis as an artist and a muralist. And his family, the Montoya family, are a famous art family in Chicano art. His uncle Jose Montoya has a history and whatnot. So, but Andres Montoya wrote poetry, and he was my instructor. He was my teacher of Chicano literature, and he was kind of like an introduction to Chicano literature for me. So I took Chicano literature way back in probably was it 2001 maybe, as a student at Fresno City College, by the way. And so I got to take his class. He was a force in of itself, and he was very forceful with his approach, but forceful in a challenging intellectual way, not a physical way. he would ask me personally, why write? You know, why write? I'm like, wow, what a question, right? Why write? And so he came out with a book called The Ice Worker Sings. And then he passed away right before that book came out. He was only 31 years old. He died of leukemia. So he could have been a force, could have done some amazing things, but he was gone too soon. So I'll definitely share some of his work. So those are the three: Juan Felipe Herrera, Luis Omar Salinas, and Andres Montoya. They all have Valley roots. Last one, why, instead of answering why I'm taking this class, because obviously, you know, I'm being paid to teach this class, but I'll just share my story on how I came into writing. So I started off actually as a Chicano studies major. I thought I was going to be a Chicano studies professor. That was kind of like my goal. I was a student at Fresno City College. I was in clubs like Mecha and I think Masas, Mexican American Students Society. I think they're still around. But any of you in any of the Chicano clubs on campus? Well, no, no. Are you? No. There are Chicano clubs on campus if you're interested. I don't know how that's working, how clubs are organizing or meeting. I'm thinking maybe via Zoom. But if you're interested, you can always look up the college student activities, and there should be a list of clubs to join and whatnot. But I came into Chicano literature kind of like by happenstance. I saw Chicano literature. I was starting to write Chicano poetry, at least what I thought was Chicano poetry, and so I just kind of fell in love in creating verse, writing poems. And I took Chicano literature, and I got to learn about who the major poets were through Andres Montoya. And then from that point on, I started attending open mics, poetry open mics. He encouraged me to start submitting my poetry for literature in journals. So there's a journal on campus at Fresno State called Flies, Cockroaches, and Poets. They publish uh, everyone really, but primarily Chicano poetry. And uh, Andres Montoya suggested that I submit my work there, and I did. And so slowly I sort of like created more of a biography for poetry, and eventually I majored in English at Fresno State when I transferred, and uh, and Connie Hales, who's my instructor there, encouraged me to apply for an MFA program at Fresno State, which is a graduate degree in creative writing, and I did. I went to Minnesota, University of Minnesota, Minneapolis, for 3 years. I studied under Ray Gonzalez, who's a great friend of Juan Felipe. So there's like connections, right? And so, and then after graduate school, I think 3 years, 4 years later, my first book came out, and yeah, I've been kind of like dabbling in writing, working on the novel on the side, and things like that. So that's kind of like where I'm at with Chicano literature. I think what I bring most to the table for this course are the people uh, in Fresno and around the country that I know, um, that if I can ask, they'll be more than happy to partake in one of our Zoom lesson sections, and maybe I'll sign their work as a supplement, and um, we'll be able to engage with these authors um, live, you know, and ask them questions and whatnot. So it should be a good, great, interesting semester. So, any questions? Okay, so let's go ahead and take a 5-minute break right about now. And when we come back, I'll go over the syllabus. We're not going to go entirely over this. We're not going to go over it in depth. I'm just going to kind of run through the highlights, the major points, and then we'll talk about this week's homework, this week's assignments, and all of that. So let's reconvene at 10:54. Let's just make it 11 a.m. We'll come back at 11 a.m. Take a restroom break, take a get some fresh air, and we'll come back at 11. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Are we all back? Okay, I'm gonna pause the recording and wait for you all to come back. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and continue. So we're gonna go over the syllabus, and I'm gonna share my screen. Let's see. I don't think I did that correctly. So how many of you are new to Canvas? Maybe if you can either respond in the mic or give me a thumbs up, or that you're familiar with Canvas. Are all of you familiar with Canvas? Okay, so if you're entirely new to Canvas, what's going to happen is you will sign on, obviously, through your portal, right? You will sign on through your portal, and if you got to this point where you're watching the Zoom, then you are in Canvas. Then you're absolutely in Canvas, and then you will get what they call the dashboard. And the dashboard, I'm just going to click on that real quick, is just basically the list of classes. Okay, these are basically your list of classes, and it's not coming up because my internet is not allowing it at the moment, but you would see your classes in the dashboard. And then next, what we're going to have is the homepage. And in the homepage, I have what they call the modules for the week. And so what you're going to do is you're going to get your assignments on a weekly to every bi-weekly basis. So what you'll get next week, what you'll see is what the assignments are for the week, and also what to expect for the following week after that. Okay, and so that's in the modules right there. It's also where you'll get your assignments. It's also where you will receive your assignments. And so before we talk assignments, we're going to talk about Canvas student orientation, and then also the your simple syllabus. So in your student toolbox, if you're not familiar with Canvas, there's what you call a Canvas student orientation. And I know it says there's nothing here, right? It shows nothing, right? It's just a gray screen. Ignore that. Click on the title, and I'm just going to right click so it opens in a new tab, but it should take you to a YouTube. And what you'll receive is a very comprehensive, about a 10-minute, 11-minute tutorial on everything that has to do with Canvas. So if you have questions about Canvas, you can go there. There are other resources that I can link up, but just for starters, this is a good place to start on how to navigate Canvas. So I highly recommend for everyone to watch the video, as a reminder, but also especially if you're not familiar with Canvas. So we're in the wrong class here. So to your right, to your left, you're going to have our menu of items that are that will be utilized throughout the course. Some more so than others. The ones at the very top, the near top, are the most common ones that we'll be using. So I do make periodic announcements throughout the week. So make sure that you do read your announcements because highly imperative information related to the course can be found there. So, and all of this is linked through your email here. So, and it should also, all of our Canvas emails should also be linked to your student email address. So we're going to go ahead and click on the syllabus. Wait for that to load up. Okay. And so what you'll get right away is the dates and the times for the course. You'll notice right off the bat, you'll see 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. for our meeting times. No, it doesn't mean that that I am teaching class for 24 hours. What that means is this is a web 100% online course, and that the course shell is open 24 hours a day. So that way you can work on the assignments at any time of the day, as long as they are open and available. Okay, so that's what that means. I have my welcoming message. You can read that on your own. I give you a little bit of a personal note on how I arrived at Chicano literature. Gives you a little bit more of an insight about me, but I kind of shared everything already. If you want to contact me, please do so through the email address here at michael.madrano@fresnocitycollege.edu, or you can email me in Canvas as a separate email. And basically how that works is pretty easy. I'm going to go ahead and open up a new tab here. And you simply where you'll see like some buttons up here, and this one says compose a new message, and you'll just select your course. You could go to favorite courses or more courses, and so here we are, Chicano Literature 21, and you can select who you want to speak to. I don't know how it looks on your end as a student, but this is what it looks like on my end as a teacher. So I can respond to all students, or I could respond to one. So here's Adrian right there. You know, if I was to send a message to Adrian, you know, please utilize the subject so that way I know exactly what the topic is and how to address it. So if you could do that, that would be great. And then you just click send, and there you go. And sometimes you may need to include an attachment. So here's where you can add an attachment to a document. If you would prefer to record your message, you can record an audio or video comment here, and you can message me that way too. So there are different ways to reach me. So that's directly in Canvas. Any questions at this point in regards to how to get in contact with me? Also, just one last thing. I will respond to emails regularly through the business day. So that being like from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., I'll be readily available. But after those hours, my response may be limited. So I may open up check my email once in the evening, for example, or once during the weekend, for example. So just bear in mind that during business hours, I'm readily available, but I'd also like to keep my private time. But I understand that checking in is important because you never know what could arise during the semester with all of our, living in this new COVID existence, right? Okay, next thing you will have is the course description and the course objectives, what the purpose of this class is. And so as you can see here, the purpose is to compose and analyze various literary elements such as plot, character, setting, voice, meter, etc. of selected Chicano Latino works, and to compare and contrast in writing ideas found in assigned Chicano Latino reading sections. So selections. So the purpose behind this class is not just to to read about and learn about our culture, but also to learn how a story is formatted, how a story is created, um, and so you will learn terminology that and that is necessary for to understand how a story works. This will help us uh, to learn about a story. And one of the links that I have um, provided for you all is a link to story elements, the elements of a story of a fictional account. And so those are very important, and they're going to be important going forward with future assignments. Student learning outcomes are generally the what you are expected, excuse me, what you are expected to learn, and what you leave uh, knowing about Chicano literature. So these are the three ideas: analyzing and responding in writing to a variety of Chicano Latino literature. So we'll read short stories, we'll read poetry, novels, drama. I'm not, to be honest, um, I'll do my best with drama, but we've got so much going on in the semester that hopefully we can get to drama. But we'll definitely get into short stories, poetry, and a novel. So um, we'll talk about that in just a sec. Demonstrate in writing an understanding of the importance of assigned work to various Chicano Latino time periods. So we'll write and we'll read Chicano literature from different time periods. So that's part of the reason why I picked my textbooks as well, because it addresses different time periods and different cultural periods in Chicano literature. So compare and contrast in writing the ideas found in the assigned Chicano Latino reading selections to the contemporary. So we'll look at the past literature, the history, and we'll look at the present, and and then we'll talk about like, okay, what's different now? What makes, you know, what's different now than it was back then? You know, are the ideas the same? Are they different? You know, are the goals the same? Are they different? You know, those kinds of questions. Any questions so far? Okay, so now here's the I think what you're all waiting for is the required text. Um, so let me get my books here. So can you all see Bordering Fires? Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is an anthology. It's called Bordering Fires, the vintage book of contemporary Mexican and Chicana literature. And it's an anthology. And what an anthology is it's basically a collection of essays, and it could be anything. It could be a collection of any type of literature uh, that is related, has a related theme. So in this case, it's um, contemporary Mexican and Chicano literature. So I I picked this book mainly because you get to hear not just the Chicano voices, but the Mexican voices. Different points of view, different styles of writing. Um, but what you'll understand is is how like the Chicana writing experience is influenced by the Mexicana writing experience. So it's very interesting. Um, so we won't read all of the stories in here, or poems, but we'll read plenty of them, many of them. Um, and we will not go in order, but we'll go. I'll kind of assign assignments, essays as the course goes, and see where that takes us. Um, Also, one thing I wanted to mention. Oh, I guess not. Well, so that's this book right here. If you do not have the textbook right here, our first story comes from Bordering Fires, um, but it's also on PDF. So I'll also provide PDFs like the first couple of weeks. Hopefully they're available. Not they're not always available. Um, I don't know if you all have your textbook, if you bought your books already, but this book is actually, I bought it for $15.95. So this is $16. So it's relatively inexpensive for a textbook. Um, and you can find it on Amazon. If you have Amazon Prime, it'll come in one or couple of days. But it's also available at the bookstore, at the college bookstore. So it's available in different ways. The other book that I'm assigning is The Elements of San Joaquin, and there's the cover right here. And The Elements of San Joaquin is Gary Soto, his first book of poems. And this is a name that you already mentioned. A couple of you already mentioned Gary Soto. You probably read his stories. I don't know if you read his poems, but this is his first book of poems, and it's my favorite book of his. It was amazing. It was an amazing book about the San Joaquin, about growing up in the San Joaquin Valley. There are some poems about his childhood. There are poems about campesino, farm worker life. I mean, just some amazing, beautiful poems, political poems, political themes. They're just great poems. So that's your second book. And then finally, you have Bless Me Ultima, which is a novel by Rudolfo Naya. And this is a wonderful book. It's a coming of age story. It says right here in the description, Antonio Mares is 6 years old when Ultima comes to stay with his family in New Mexico. And it's more than that. Ultima is connected to the old traditions of the indigenous spiritual traditions. And she brings that to the table. There are two different sides. There are two different families in New Mexico. There is his mom's side of the family, and his mom's side of the family are, I guess you can say, they are very traditional. They're connected to the church. Um, they prefer to stay in their communities. They don't like to venture out too often. They're very sustainable people. And then his father's side of the family are very rough and very, they like to move a lot. They like to get drunk and, just be rabble rousers and get into fights and stuff. So those two worlds kind of collide. And Ultima kind of brings this balance to all of that. And Antonio Mares, 6 years old, Antonio learns from Ultima, from this elder, and it's a wonderful story. It's considered the first Chicano novel. It was published in 1968. It's considered the first Chicano novel, or 72. I'm sorry, 1972. And it's a wonderful book, and I'm sure you will all love it. So we'll talk about that when that comes. So, any questions so far? Questions? Okay, so attendance policy.
I have a question.
Yeah, Crystal.
How soon will we need the books?
You will need the books. You know what? Let me drop down to um, our sort of outlining calendar. So here we are. So you will need Bordering Fires right away. Okay, so make sure that you do get that right away. I do understand that sometimes financial aid. How many of you are? Well, you don't have to raise your hand, but you may be impacted by financial aid. So I'm going to do my best to provide PDFs for the first couple of weeks for the literature. But your first book, Bordering Fires, that's the first book that you should have right away. By week 3, or when, oh, I'm sorry, by week 7, you should have the novel by week 7. So our first 6 weeks will explore short stories and prose, which are the essays. So our first 6 weeks will be our fiction and nonfiction short personal essays, short fiction section. Week 7 is the novel. So so make sure you get your copy of the novel by week 7. You can get it earlier and start before then. And then weeks 12 through 18 is poetry. So make sure that you do have your book of poems by week 12. As a matter of fact, you should probably get your book as soon as possible, at least by the time you get Los Mi Ultima, mainly because there is a cutoff date, and the bookstore does tend to send books back. Otherwise, you'll have to order it online. So make sure that that you get the books as soon as possible, I guess. But this is when we are starting our genre. So does that answer your question, Crystal?
Yes, because I
Okay.
just ordered the Bordering Fires, but I won't be getting that until probably the first week of February. So I just want to make sure that's okay.
Yes, yes. Absolutely, absolutely. You should be good. We should be good. So because I will be providing PDF links for stories that you may
Okay.
not have. So I think
Thank you.
we will be okay. Um, so this is kind of like the sample calendar right here that I'm gonna go off of. So let's just go to exams and assignments since we're already here. So your assignments will include weekly journals and responses to readings, short quizzes, and these short quizzes will be based um, on the content in our stories, and also on the mechanics of the literature that we're in. So, for example, our first quiz may be, I think that takes place like in week 3, week 4, around there. But you'll be required to know, simply the plot or the plot of a story, of an assigned story. So, for example, our first story is Major Aranda's Hand. You'll be expected to know what the plot is in there, how dialogue works to move the story, um, the climax of the story, that sort of thing, but also know what happens in the story. Okay, so I mainly utilize quizzes to keep you honest in your reading, making sure that you're doing the reading assignments. There will be 3 short writing projects. And let me scroll down here. Okay, you know what? I'll have more on that. But generally, your writing projects are will consist of 1 to 3 page short essay assignments throughout the semester. And each writing project will coincide with the genre that we're in. So you'll have one for the poetry. You'll have an essay for the or you will have a response for the fiction. You will have a response for the drama. Okay, so that's what that will be. The final portfolio is more of a kind of an anthology of your journals, of your examples of writing. One of the things we're going to do is you're going to write. You're going to attempt to write your own personal essay, your own fictional story, and your own poems. Okay, so there's going to be a creative writing element to this as well. All of that's going to be part of your final portfolio. Okay, the final exam we'll talk more about that once that comes up. So I'll give you more when that comes up. So we'll talk about that. Any questions regarding that? On exams and assignments? My grading scale is traditional. 90% is an A, 80% is a B, 70% is a C. Anything below 60% is an F. So it's a pretty traditional. Makeup assignments, you may turn in one missed assignment or make up one assignment during the semester. This is for any assigned coursework. And I'm gonna have to revise that, but basically your makeup assignments will be for any of the homework assignments except for the essay writing projects, except for the writing projects and the final. So assignments are generally turned in, they're all turned in via Canvas. And any assignments and essays turned in after the Monday 11:59 p.m. deadline will be considered late. However, there will be a 1 hour grace period in case of technical issues. Sometimes an assignment, sometimes your computer may shut down, or you may lose your Wi-Fi, whatever the case may be. There'll be an hour grace period, and I'll consider that. But also email me when that happens, or if that happens, and I'll do my best to accommodate. No guarantees, but I'll do my best to accommodate. The assignment will be left open until Tuesday at 12 p.m. Then the assignment will close. It'll still be considered late, and I'll give you half credit for a late assignment, but it's still available. Turning in something late is better than turning nothing at all. Okay. So late textbook assignments, journals, and other miscellaneous assignments. I will not accept late work via email. That's the personal email. So I prefer your homework assignments done through Canvas as opposed to emailing me the assignments. Unless the excuse is an emergency event or you have made arrangements with me prior to the due date, pending instructor approval. You'll never know what may occur during the course of the semester. I'll have to weigh that. Last semester, I had a student she had 2 major deaths in her family, and both deaths were in Mexico, and so she had to tend to those issues, and it was a pretty rough time for her. So I did my best to accommodate. So her email was not the best in Mexico. She couldn't get Canvas, but I allowed her to submit work via email, but she had made prior arrangement with me. So that was just an extraordinary circumstance. So I hope that doesn't happen, but you just never know. Any questions? The extra credit, there may be opportunities to earn extra credit during the semester, and I will announce those opportunities as necessary. Points, length, and mediums of assignment will vary. Classroom norms, go ahead and review that on your own, as well as the academic dishonesty policy, cheating, plagiarism. Okay. Final exam date, your final exam and portfolio assignment will be launched in week 17. Both assignments are due Wednesday, May 19th at 11:59 p.m. And although the course is slated for the 21st, but I'm doing this mainly because I need to get the assignments in and graded. So that's the reason why I'm cutting off the class on Wednesday, May 19th. So one last thing before I let you go. I just need a couple more minutes of your time. My attendance policy. Although this is an online class, participation online is mandatory to this class. You are expected to have completed all your assignments and be prepared to participate in class discussions. If you miss 3 consecutive assignments or the equivalent to 1 week of missed assignments, you will be dropped. Okay. And I provided an update, but attendance will be tabulated by a short informal journal response each week due by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. So there'll be an informal journal, and I'll note it that it's required for attendance, and that should be uploaded by 11:59. These are short. These will be a short response, usually about a paragraph or two, but they're mainly meant for attendance purposes. Okay. Please complete the introduction icebreaker that I have listed by. I think I have it by Thursday. I think it's have that due by Thursday, I believe. And so with that, I just want to finish up with going over our work for the week really quickly. So you're welcome. You know what? I don't have I'll need to, what happened here? I need to, okay, it's open. So this is more like a personal introduction to your class. But please answer 1 and 2. Make sure that you complete this task by January 14th at midnight. And if you don't, then you may be subjected to being dropped. Okay, so simply you're introducing yourself to the class. Make sure you answer all questions for number 1. And number 2, you're applying to at least 2 fellow classmates. And I'll participate to show you how to go about doing this. So it's pretty straightforward, but you simply post your comment and reply, and then others can reply to you, sort of like being on Facebook or on social media. So we're going to go to the next assignment. And this is the elements of fiction. This is just a web page, but it goes over the elements of fiction. I'm going to speak more about this for Thursday's class. So our first lecture will be on the elements of fiction. And we may talk a little bit more about the first story, Major Aranda's Hand. I'll introduce that story properly. Oops, sorry about that. So you'll see this gray here and like what's going on here. Ignore that, but just click on the title. It'll take you to the elements of fiction. Okay, you have a video assignment, and it's called the U.S. Mexican-American War, Parts 1 and Part 2. And this is due on January 19th at 12 p.m. Well, it's available until 12 p.m. And I'll see how you are throughout the week to see how we are, especially towards the latter part of the week, and see how that goes. But this is a video that goes into the history of the U.S.-Mexican War from the 1800s. And please watch part 1, which is about an hour and a half, by Thursday. I want to at least start talking about that. The purpose behind this video is to sort of like show you how the U.S.-Mexican War ineffectively impacted what we write about, what Chicano authors write about, and Mexican authors, what they write about. Because one of the themes that is prevalent in Chicano literature is war and is history. And so it's important to kind of know where we come from in this regard. This is a very important part of our history. So please watch, you will need to watch the video. And when you're watching the video, answer the 11 questions as you're going. So any questions to that?
So will you be holding the Zoom classes every Tuesdays and Thursdays?
That is correct. From 10 to 11:30. We're going a little bit over time right now. I wanted to cover this, but we're almost done. I just need another minute of your time. Any other questions? One last thing, the clips are on YouTube, so as long as you have a YouTube account, you should be good. Or I mean, you don't even need a YouTube account. You just go straight to the video. Make sure that you are in Chrome and not in Internet Explorer, because Canvas will not work in Internet Explorer, just to give you a heads up on that. Our reading assignment, is Major Aranda's hand with a journal. And so you're asked to identify and give examples of the plot, setting, character, conflict, symbol, and point of view in the story. I'll talk more about that on Thursday. So I'll devote some time to that, and maybe we'll read out loud portion, maybe the first couple of paragraphs of Major Aranda's hand. Also talk a little bit about what magical realism is, and I'll explain that as a device that's found mainly in a lot of Mexican literature, and I'll talk about that, magical realism. You probably heard that. I'll explain what it is more in depth. You're asked to identify what themes that are in the story, and I'll provide you an example of a theme. I'll fill that out. I apologize for that. So and then finally you're writing a half-page personal reaction to the story, your own personal reaction to the story, and I'll talk more about how to write a personal reaction on Thursday. So I'll address the homework more so on Thursday. Finally, this is a link to Major Aranda's hand. You will not see it, but you can still click on the title and it'll take you to the story. So here's a PDF that I found online of the story. You get a little bit of bio behind Alfonso Reyes, and then you get the story itself. The story is about 10 pages. No, less than that. It's about 5 or 6 pages. So that's our assignments for the week. Any questions before I close up shop? No? Okay. Well, I want to thank you all. I apologize for going a little bit over. But if you have any questions, if you have any further questions after the class, I'll stick around. If not, you have a great rest of your day. And I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.